Well, here I go. It's A-Duck Reviews, episode 11. Now, I know there isn't an intro this time. It's because a lot has happened. Now, I was originally going to review The Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2017 cartoon. The episode Bacon Girl. But the problem with that show is that although it does have a lot of things wrong with it, it's not the same show with these types of problems. It falls into a little category I like to call movies that should have stayed movies or had better shows. So I have 3 shows for you. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the TV show, Hotel Transylvania, the TV show, and Monsters vs. Aliens, the TV show. So, we're going to work our way through this piecemeal style. And let's start with what we were waiting for all this time. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. This is a prequel show. It takes place before the big storm that hit Swallow Falls. And apparently Flint and Sam are in high school together. Okay. Problem number 1. That never happened. They were never in fucking high school together. Also, this whole thing is in 2D cheap flash animation. If they wanted to make a Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs cartoon, they should have just stuck with traditional 3D. Even if it was a little downgraded, I think they could have managed. Because the reason why Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was good in 3D is because the characters were very stylized, meaning, and their limbs were like noodles. And although you can easily do that in flash animation, it does kind of make it look cheap. And so let's start with the characters. We have Flint. Flint is, well, he's naive. His voice is off. His head looks like a butt. And he feels like a ripoff of Jimmy Neutron. Actually, if you dig deep enough in the show, the whole thing seems like a ripoff of Jimmy Neutron. Done worse. Then you have Sam, who shouldn't be there because it breaks the movie because she's not supposed to be on the island. Sam, she is basically, if Carl Wheezer was fused with Cindy Vortex and have some sprinkles of Sam Puckett from iCarly. So she's aggressive, quirky, and she's a guinea pig for Flint's inventions, and she always gets mad at him for some reason. Watched a couple episodes, but I still can't really find the dynamic. And this show only ran for 1 season. I counted the episodes. About only 24 episodes are coming out by the time this has been made. Now, overall, this is the last show you'd be watching on Cartoon Network. But Cartoon Network wouldn't probably take the show anyway, since all it ever runs is Teen Titans Go every day of all 7 days a week. And dead serious. And also, a lot of the characters' voices are off. But speaking of dead from earlier, let's move on to our next contestant in the movies that should have stayed as movies. In conclusion about Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, it could have been a really good shoot if it was after the second movie, about the foodimals that happened in the second movie. Studying the food animals, or having a cool new land with the foodimals. It could have been an interesting show. Instead giving us this rehashed hash. And now, speaking of dead, like I was trying to say, let's move on to Hotel Transylvania, the series. Now, I'd expect Cartoon Network to pick up a lackluster movie and make it into a cheap show, but I wouldn't suspect Disney, of all things, to take a lackluster movie and turn it into a cheap show. Keep in mind, I like all the movies that I'm talking about. And to see Hotel Transylvania being turned into this, and Jenny Travagosky isn't even working on the show. He's the one who helped make the 2 movies. And he made Samurai Jack and Dexter's Laboratory. It would have been great to have him help make this show. But no, doesn't have that. The show is about Dracula leaving Mavis on her own in the hotel with her cheap knockoff friends of the movies. One that's a ripoff of the Mummy dude, one's the ripoff of Frankenstein, and one is a ripoff of the Blob from the second movie. And there's this weird Dracula lady with a chicken. I'm not making this up. Who's supposed to be watching over her. And for what it's worth, at least the actress who got to play Mavis actually got Mavis pretty well. But everything else just falls on its face. For starters, it has the same type of continuity problems, being a prequel to the first one. That they said that Johnny was the first human to try and infiltrate the hotel successfully. But according to the episode that I watched, that's not the case. No. Also, also the show was completely formulaic. And also, might I remind you that this is Disney we're talking about. And last I checked, I think they're doing pretty fine. I think they got Star versus the Forces of Evil right now under their belt. But with all the sitcoms Disney runs, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, this show is not a good show. Like, it tries so hard. The art style is almost there. It's just everything else just... Although the art style does look good to the style of Jenny Travagosky, or whatever his name is, it just doesn't click. it's like someone took his drawings and then plastered it all together in a mishmash of ideas just so it would fit the stereotypical new movie adaptation to TV show. Also, you could have had a nice show, like I said, after the second movie. I'm sure it wouldn't be perfect, but I think it would be a little bit better. But this show could have been salvaged if it weren't for those tiny details. Also, this thing has a plot holes that has tons of plot holes, just like Swiss cheese. Anyway, on to our final show of this three-show of movies that should have stayed as movies. Now, I'm going to take you a trip to memory lane on Nickelodeon. Back in like 2008, 2009, where SpongeBob was dominating the lineup of Nicktoons, and still people were just starting to figure out, like, is season 6 good? Season 6 is kind of horrible, and people were starting to give up on it. But here's the thing: after a little while, what happened is, so then they had the advent of a few shows, mainly the DreamWorks shows, such as The Penguins of Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness. Two shows which I highly recommend as good movie adaptations. They're not necessarily canon with the movies, but they make awesome shows because they're 3D animated and they're good at what they're doing. Anyway, because of this, because of a couple other things, there was a third movie that was going to get a show on Nickelodeon. That was Monsters vs. Aliens. And it happened in 2013. Now, this show, it was... let me recap what happened in 2013. SpongeBob was still was dominating everything. But, for some reason, this show happened after the Kids' Choice Awards. It's about the Monsters vs. Aliens, where 4 aliens get sentenced to be in Area 50-something with the monsters, and all 8 of them do adventures? First of all, the alien that they first meet is a direct copy from the alien from the movie, who wants Susan's energy, or whatever, for his own nefarious purposes. And, also, the show only got 1 season. Yeah, it lasted from April of 2013 to November of 2013. So, to be honest, they didn't even squeeze it out for as much potential as it could have had. I think, honestly, Nickelodeon was too busy that year glorifying Sanjay and Craig and glorifying Sam and Cat. And that was 3 movies that I think didn't deserve to be, well, didn't deserve, could have been better, or shouldn't have been shows. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, at its core, is just a ripoff of Jimmy Neutron. Hotel Transylvania, although it had nice potential, fell flat in almost every category. Monsters vs. Aliens didn't need to be a show. There could have been other DreamWorks movies that were up to the task, like How to Train Your Dragon. Oh, How to Train Your Dragon was a TV show on Cartoon Network. Man, I hate doing that. Now, I'm not saying that these are the worst shows that I've reviewed so far, and Nut Job doesn't even come close. I know that I did review the Nut Job, but that didn't really come close. The thing is, some of the worst stuff that I fear are things like, oh God, that, please, don't show that Totally Spies to me. Please. We are not reviewing that. We are never reviewing that. Ever. Yeah. If you want me to review that, you want me to review Totally Spies, you're nuts. I am not reviewing that hellhole of a show. It is my most dangerous fear of a show. Well, now that I've discussed 3 movie adaptations, here's a question that most people ask the reviewer. Because, honestly, what's your least favorite SpongeBob episode? I guess that'll have to wait until the next time. A Duck Reviews out.